So today we're going to start chapter 5, which I think I've talked about this before. What we're going to do in this chapter is combine what we have already learned from chapter 3 and 4. So chapter 3 was about the goods market, when we talked about buying and selling of goods basically, and chapter 4 was about the financial market. We basically talked about financial assets, basically money and bonds. So what we are going to do is we're going to put the equilibrium condition of these two markets together and see what implications that has for the economy. So a very quick review before we move on to the contents of chapter 5. So in chapter 3, basically what we saw was that there is a demand for goods, which was Z. There was a supply for goods, which was Y, supply or production, let's say. And the equilibrium condition needed them to be equal. And that should make sense to all of you. In the financial market, what we saw was that there is something called a money demand. And there was something called a money supply. And once again, the equilibrium condition needed them to be equal. So in the goods market, the equilibrium condition gave us the equilibrium output. And in the financial market, the equilibrium basically gave us the interest rate. But if you think about it, these two markets are not independent of each other. We have made some simplifying assumptions so far that made them independent, but at the end of the day, they're interrelated. Just think about interest rate. So sure, the interest rate is ultimately determined in the financial market, but depending on what the interest rate may be, your demand or your income or your savings is affected. And when these factors are affected, effectively the equilibrium output in the economy is affected. So you see that these things are interrelated. And if you are to get the whole picture about the economy, it doesn't serve our purpose to look at these two markets in isolation. So what we are going to do today is look at them together. So let me just get rid of this. Oh, that didn't work. We don't need this anymore. So today what we are going to do is we're going to look at the goods market once again. And from the goods market, we're going to derive the IS relation. We're going to take a look at the financial market. And from there, we're going to derive the LM relation. And that's all we're doing today. And in the next lecture, we're going to put the IS and the LM curves together and see what that means and what the implications are. And we're going to end with some of the government policies that are effectively informed by the interaction of the goods and the financial market. Right, so let's get started with the goods market and deriving the IS relation.